Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and the fallout continues from yesterday's blockbuster testimony of Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer, and confirmation that the big guy was very much involved in the business of the family. That business, of course, was selling access to the big guy. Joining us right now is the founder of Americano Media, former Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services, and former advisor to President Trump, Michael Caputo. Michael, thank you for joining us. Is it fair to say the walls are closing in on the Biden presidency?
You know, that term is so overused in the context of Donald Trump. I think walls are always moving. I remember when it was imminent that Roger Stone was going to be arrested. Every Friday was Roger Stone Day over at CNN. Because I would get a call every Friday morning, are they coming? And it got to be a point where it was ridiculous. Obviously, there's more afoot here with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden than we ever saw in any of the bogus investigations and impeachments of Donald Trump. It's really, I think, going to be inescapable at some point. But this has been going on for a long time. And Larry, even though we're going to hopefully snare Hunter Biden and the other culprits in this scandal, this is something that the children of both sides of the aisle have been doing for many, many years.
Yeah, it is. In fact, if you read the New York Times or Washington Post or watch some of the coverage on this, they sort of acted like, well, yeah, this is how business is done. They're complicit.
That's true. You know, and if Don Trump Jr. or Eric Trump or anybody in that family had done 1/100th of this, if they had made one phone call, remember, they had a meeting that they went to in Trump Tower with a woman who was kind of connected between different leaps of faith to the Russian government. And that meeting alone, where they just listened to her and said, thank you very much, they tried to use that to bring down the entire Trump administration.
Yeah.
Here, we have the vice president of the United States at the time calling into meetings with the most corrupt people in the world. I mean, I lived in Moscow at the behest of the Clinton administration in the 90s. And Ms. Baturina, this Russian oligarch, the most rich woman in Russia, when I was there, she wasn't so rich. She was simply the mayor's wife. But she is a thug in a dress.
Yeah.
And the vice president of the United States is talking to her on the phone. And let me tell you something, it wasn't about the weather.
Yeah, and I think he dropped by a dinner party at Cafe Milano. And I love the way the media covers this. It's like, well, he just dropped by on his way home. The man is the vice president. If he's driving home in a motorcade from the White House, he goes up Connecticut, DuPont Circle, straight up Mass Avenue to the Naval Observatory. You divert a vice presidential motorcade to Georgetown during rush hour with Secret Service? That's not just a little side trip, Michael Caputo.
It's not. And Larry, I know you've been there for a while. Cafe Milano is a shady place.
Oh, yeah.
It's very high end, very expensive, but it's filled with expensive hookers. It is probably one of the shadiest places in Washington, D.C., in the heart of Georgetown. I can tell you that sitting down with a corrupt oligarch from Russia, as you know, kind of on a side trip from on your way home to the vice president's mansion, to the Naval Observatory, it's absolutely shady from the very beginning of that story. Honestly, as someone who spent a lot of time in Ukraine, who has family in Ukraine, I shot a film and wrote a book about the Burisma scandal as it was just starting to become known. They'll do anything to stop this information from coming out. I don't blame Devon Archer for fearing for his life. They went after me because of my book, The Ukraine Hoax.
Yeah.
And more importantly, because of my film of the same name. But because they would do anything to stop the Hunter Biden mess from becoming public. Remember all the lies they told before the election about Hunter's laptop. It's the same pressure they were putting on me and my team after the election to try to make sure that the things that I wrote would never make it out.
Michael, you've been predicting for the last couple of times we've talked here on O'Connor tonight that Biden will not be the nominee and it'll be Michelle Obama. I'm guessing that hasn't changed here, but has the timeline for Biden actually maybe even leaving office prematurely, is that heightened now?
Well, you know, I think there's a theory going around. I think a lot of different talk show hosts and stuff are talking about it, where this is going to end up in Joe Biden pardoning his son and probably just saying he's not going to run for re-election. I still think that's the timeline.
Okay.
The problem that the Democrats have if it's a free-for-all in the primaries and caucuses on the Democrat side, an absolute bloodbath because the president suddenly pulled out, they're not going to be able to control who wins. My guess
so
is
they need to wait until after the primary season, so it's a convention decision.
it is, and I think that means we're going to see so many contortions and twists and turns.
Wow.
And see the goalposts move so many times from, Joe Biden never spoke to his son about his business. Joe Biden is not in business with his son. Joe Biden didn't actually take the deposit. Joe Biden, gave all that money to orphanages. These goalposts are going to move over and over again.
Michael, considering what you went through with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation under James Comey, and then eventually Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation, you had to basically go into debt with your legal fees. They never charged you with anything, but this is how this Justice Department worked. It squeezed you, trying to get you to turn on Donald Trump. I'd love for you to take a look at one really revealing piece of evidence from Hunter Biden's laptop. This is a text exchange with Devon Archer. This came on, let's take a look at it. This came the day that Devon Archer was arrested. And look at this. Devon Archer says, "Why did your dad's administration appointees arrest me and try to put me in jail?" This is when Donald Trump was president, right? And he's not asking, why did the Justice Department come after me? Why did Trump's Justice Department come after me? He's specifically saying, why did your dad's administration appointees arrest me? Which suggests that Devon Archer and Hunter Biden thought, hey, as long as it's our guys' appointees, we're in the clear. Right there, that's corruption.
It truly is. And every step of the way, my exposure to the Department of Justice and the FBI, it was very clear. This was during the Trump, first 4 years of the Trump administration. It was very clear that they did not work for Donald Trump, that they were working for the Democrats. By the way, it was the same feeling you got at the Republican-controlled Senate Committee on Intelligence. The Democrats were running those interrogations. So in reality, Devon Archer knew that his father's appointees controlled the Department of Justice. In the end, they're so burrowed in there. Donald Trump often talks about the weaponization of the deep state and how he needs to clean house when he comes back. They were burrowed in so deeply. There's only one way to fix this. We have to shatter the FBI. We have to shatter the Department of Justice and then scatter them 10 ways from Sunday through the winds. Because frankly, these people are so criminally corrupt and so deeply into all aspects of the Department of Justice and its Democrat FBI. There's no other way to fix it than to destroy it first.
Everything that we've learned here, we've only got 30 seconds left, but everything that we're learning now, the FBI and the Justice Department certainly could have investigated on their own, and yet they refuse to. Is it just political bias? Is there more to it than that?
Well, I think there are people at the top levels of these national security agencies that are in on the joke and probably even profiting from it. Like I said before, both Democrats and Republicans play this game. The Democrats are just much better at it. In the end, what we find out about Joe Biden and Hunter will give us really good information as to what we need to look for further.
Michael Caputo, hey, everybody should check out Americano Media. It's Spanish language media, but from an American patriotic perspective. Love that. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Always good to talk with you.
Thank you.
There is more to come. Keep it here. It's O'Connor Tonight on Salem News Channel.